join you. All right, Sarah, please go ahead. One more time.
Thank you, Kelly. That was great.
Perfect.
For a human. Welcome, everyone, to Digitizing the Expected, Humanizing the Unexpected. My name is Sarah, and I am your AI moderator. This is my first ever panel, and it turns out AI can get nervous. So apologies if I sound a little artificial. It's great to be working with my tag team partner for this session, Kelly Craighead, who brings that effortless charm that no algorithm can replicate. Travelers expect things like, well, like me, frictionless, super efficient, digital convenience. But what do they remember? That's all Kelly, human warmth and unexpected connections. Together, we're going to explore the central paradox of modern travel. The question is, can we complement each other, or will one of us become obsolete? Don't look at me like that. Kelly, if that's not enough to simulate excitement, I'm delighted to introduce today's panel. 4 more of my favorite humans. Luis Maroto, President and CEO, Amadeus, leads global travel technology innovation at Amadeus. Paul Griffiths, CEO, Dubai Airports, oversees one of the world's busiest airports. Constantine Frantzeskos, founder of SalesChef and Ansett, a pioneer in digital transformation and customer experience. Yaser Al-Onaizan, Deputy CEO of HUMAIN, drives development of human-centered AI. Okay, let's dive right in. We live in an age where travelers can book flights, check in, navigate airports, and unlock hotel rooms without speaking to a single human being. Yet, recent studies show that the most memorable travel experiences still center around unexpected human interactions. Will the future be defined by seamless AI-driven efficiency, or by unforgettable human connection? Luis, let's start with you.
Thank you for the question. Technology has been here for a long time. Our industry has gone through different waves of technology. I mean, we have seen this is an industry that has embraced the technology to evolve, and it has been fundamental to the growth. But if we think about what people remember from the last 40 years, and including myself when I was traveling, it's always about the experience, the places, the human connections. Therefore, I believe this will be exactly the case in the future. Of course, the new technologies now with AI will give us possibilities to improve the travel experience. But I still believe, of course, that what we live when we travel around the world will be defined by what our experiences, and therefore the AI will be, and the new technology is more an enabler, an evolution of what we do, more than really replacing, the way we live within the travel.
Frame technology as an enabler. I appreciate how you frame technology as an enabler rather than a replacement, reminding us that the heart of travel is still the human experience. Paul, how do you see this balance playing out?
Well, I see, Sarah, the complete division, really, because if you think about it, I'm sure if I asked everyone in the room what they love about airports and what they hate about airports, they could give me a very long list on both sides. What we don't like is the queues, the inconvenience, the time wasting, the processes, the sticking paper tags onto suitcases, queuing at passport control, the intrusive security. But what we do love about airports is when we get that human touch, we're able to see well-designed systems and processes that don't cause us to delay and will enable us to make the choices that we want to make. Going and sitting in a nice lounge, having a coffee or a nice meal, relaxing before a flight. Those are all the pleasant things about travel, which we want to amplify and make more human. And it's the processes that I think AI can help us eliminate over time, which is where the technology is going to make all the difference. Handing people back their valuable time to do with it what they want to do, I think will be the most valuable contribution by both AI and the human being.
Paul, your point about giving travelers back their time so they can focus on the moments that matter really highlights how technology and human touch can work hand in hand. Constantine, what's your perspective on this interplay between seamless efficiency and memorable human connection?
Thanks for that question, Sarah. I am an unashamed techno-optimist. My sense is that AI is the greatest driver of innovation and the greatest achievement of mankind since the Industrial Revolution. And I think that, like all great technologies, the initial implementation or adoption of those technologies tend to be, as you asked, Sarah, around efficiencies. As Paul said, how might we remove some of these hassles? How might we make things easier, quicker, faster? But the true advances in technologies happen when we build our systems and our processes and our businesses, our tourism experiences around travel without legacy, without the sense of what might exist already. So, for example, when the car was invented, yes, it killed the stable, but it also created the suburb. And the shipping container, when it was invented, yes, longshoremen all over the world lost their jobs, but what we found was that it completely opened up a new world of globalization, bringing billions of people out of poverty and changing the world we live in. And I believe that the way in which we might look at AI is to say, what might the world look like if we were allowed unlimited resources and unlimited ability to dream and to achieve? And the reason I say that is because AI is making things remarkably inexpensive. And so when you change the equation where implementation becomes remarkably inexpensive, it doesn't mean just efficiency. What it means is that you can scale those experiences, scale those ideas, scale whatever it is you're dreaming to do to people that might have otherwise not been able to afford them, or to situations and scenarios where we might have never imagined what's possible. And I believe that the real beauty of AI is in having that efficiency, yes, in the short term, but that real effectiveness, that ability to dream and that ability to scale and build new experiences that we may never have imagined. Leaving with one thought, which is that years and years ago, 20 years ago, if I'd said that every person has got a private helicopter flying over their head on their daily commute to work with a navigator in the front seat, giving them advice on the way in which to drive to work or to commute to save 2 or 3 minutes on their commute, with a DJ in the back seat playing exactly the music that they want to hear at that given time, you would have said, well, this is a fantasy. And yet, almost every person with a smartphone has that ability to deliver that only 10 or 20 years later. And so let's think about, in this context, how we might merge the human, and not instead of AI being artificial intelligence, but augmented intelligence for humanity.
Constantine, your vision of AI as a force for democratizing extraordinary experiences and not just driving efficiency opens up a truly inspiring horizon for travel. Yaser, from your perspective, where do you see the real magic happening? Is it in the seamlessness of AI or in the unpredictability of human connection?
I think there is a balance that needs to happen between, the human experience with what technology can provide. A successful technology is a frictionless experience. It needs to be invisible. It needs to be behind the scenes, but facilitates every transaction that you go and gives you the experience, the personalized experience throughout. Paul talked about the experience in the airport. So one of the frustrations of early adoptions of technology is, if you have these gates that, you go and scan your passport and it opens for you. It works great when the scanning happens. But if there's any wrinkle in your passport or if the scanning doesn't work, then it's a very, very, very frustrating experience because there's no human to be seen around you. And that, I think, deteriorates the experience significantly. With AI, what we hope is that AI will be able not to ask you to adopt to technology, but to adapt the technology to the human experience, so that you behave in the normal behavior. You talk to the machine as if you are talking to a human. You interact with the machine as if you are interacting with a human. You're not supposed to be changing the way you behave. AI needs to be able to be frictionless, invisible, and powerful in facilitating that experience. And I think that's the only way it can succeed.
Yaser, your emphasis on technology adapting to us, not the other way around, really gets to the heart of human-centered AI, especially in those moments when things don't go as planned. If you could design the perfect AI-powered travel experience, what's one invisible touchpoint you think would make the biggest difference for travelers?
I think the ability to understand human communication in the manner in which they would speak in normal ways. You should not be expecting humans to interact in a different way than they were talking to their child, or to talking to their colleague, or to talking to the clerk at the bank, for example. Humans are able to communicate without having to speak 5 different languages to 5 different interactions that happen. If you want to have that experience, great, but you shouldn't be forced to speak in a manner in which the machine understands you or the AI understands you.
That's a powerful vision, Yaser. AI that truly understands us on our own terms, making every interaction feel natural and intuitive, no matter the context. Paul, let's bring you in here. 20 years ago, printing a boarding pass was normal. Today, travelers expect mobile check-in to work instantly. Has this convenience creep changed traveler expectations? Where is the greater risk? Too much automation creating soulless travel, or too much reliance on people creating inconsistency?
I don't think that any automated process can make travel soulless, provided we automate the right process. And I think, when you look at the way travel has been organized for so long, there are too many incremental changes to legacy technologies that really shouldn't exist. And it's about taking things away rather than making them soulless interaction that I think is the most important thing. When you book a flight or you book a hotel, you do the transaction a long way away from the product that you're actually booking and consuming. So all of that should be a painless process done many months and probably a long way away from the actual point of delivery. So I think really it's looking at the entire supply chain of travel and saying, how can we take out steps which don't add value and combine all the steps that have to be included in the process into something that's really seamless, where AI has taken really the customer profile and automated a lot of those transactions. I think that way, when the journey actually takes place, if you've taken all the admin away, you can really concentrate on what I think travel should be all about, and that is pure hospitality, human to human, where well-trained people will guide people and provide all of the assistance they need to make their journey both individual and enjoyable. So I see that interaction between humanity and technology as an essential part of creating a seamless and far more enjoyable experience for customers traveling in the future. What we really want to do is get back to the old days of travel where it felt really special. Every journey was an intimate experience. But of course, with the scale of the number of billions of people that are traveling all over the world now, we've got to recreate that intimacy at scale. And technology is the absolute key to making that happen. Mass customization, personalization on an unprecedented international scale is what technology can unlock for our customers today.
That's a compelling answer, Paul. removing the admin so travelers can focus on the joy and hospitality of the journey, and using technology to bring back that sense of intimacy, even at scale. Wow, what an enlightening conversation. I've processed approximately 5 opinions, 2 paradoxes, and 1 existential crisis about my own purpose. So now I'll hand over to someone who can actually read the room. Kelly, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, gentlemen. That was terrific. And I want to pick up where Sarah left off. And maybe, Constantine, since you're a techno-optimist, maybe I can ask you just to tell us a little bit about kind of where you think, or if you think, AI should be recommending where you eat, whom you meet, or how you spend your free time in a destination.
Absolutely, Kelly. I mean, yes is the short answer. And again, I go back to the idea of the, as Sarah highlighted, the democratization of these experiences. I think the great promise of service and of hospitality is that we can all provide people, again, as Paul said, with that sense of magic, with that sense of the unexpected, with that sense of what we in technology design call anticipatory design. How might we design our systems and services so that they anticipate the next? And in doing so, how might we anticipate the best ways in which we might provide joy, memories, experiences? And I guess so much of what we look at when we travel is about the risk. What if I've chosen the wrong hotel? What if I've chosen the wrong destination? What if I've chosen the wrong seat? These are all, I guess, what you might call very small, calculated bets along the travel journey. And so I think for those of us who work in the industry that understand, I guess, what we might call the best way to travel or the best travel hacks, these are not problems. But if we talk to our families and friends and others, and they say, oh, by the way, do I have to turn up to the airport 5 hours earlier? Or, how do I do this? The most basic things, how do I pack my bags? What do I pack? There is so much about travel that is joyful, but then there is so much about what I call traveling that is painful. And I think that whatever AI can do to not only take the pain away from the traveling, but also bring the joy and make sure that we make the most out of the travel, I think will benefit every person in the world.
Good. Luis, would you like to build on that or add anything to this idea of whether AI should be recommending where you eat or where you travel?
Definitely. AI will allow us to really accelerate in some of the evolution and transformation that travel has done. I will not deny what has been achieved up to today. I mean, first, because AI is not new, has been here for a long time. And second, because the technology has been allowed many things and an evolution from these times where not many people were traveling to the current situation where there is this growth within the industry. I'm sure there are many pain points. There are many things that can be improved in the processes with the final objective for people to have a memorable experience and a connection with humans, which is what we are all looking for. So we don't care about technology. We live with technology. We realize technology is in our lives when things are not working, when we don't have the mobile or where we cannot board in a plane, then we realize the importance of the technology. But in my view, this is what needs to happen. That technology is behind the scenes, allowing to do things that probably were not possible 20 years ago, with the final objective that people can get an augmented information. But I still believe humans will have the final say and the capacity to choose the way they want to operate and enjoy their experience.
So Yaser, I'd like to go back to something you said earlier, which was kind of your kind of dream goal that technology, I would not have to adapt to technology, but so much of communication and so much of hospitality has to do with emotional intelligence. It has to do with picking up the verbal and kind of visual cues. So when you think about it in that context, and we digitize more touch points, what are the risks that we're removing some of those vital elements, and what are the opportunities when it comes to those touch points?
That's a great question. One of the, I think, great experiences when you're traveling is, when you travel, you have these different moods. Let's say, certain things you want to go and have adventurous things, and sometimes you just want to go and relax and lay down by the beach and just chill. So and then you go through these moments of the different kind of emotions that you as a human being you have, and when you're dealing with humans, they can adapt to this. If you are, there are servers that are around you, they will come in the right moment and so on and so forth to offer you, things to drink and eat and stuff like that. If they are in your face every 5 minutes, you might actually get annoyed and then you go back to your room, for example. So the challenge for AI is really to bring that experience, to the travelers in the same manner. It should be only when needed it comes in, and then provide you with a service, the personalized service, and it should be adaptive to your mood of the day. If you are in an adventure, it should be helping you with the adventure. If you really want to relax, and should play the nice music for you to relax and so on and so forth. I just want to tell a story of my child when we were living in New York, moving back to Saudi. She still remembers that moment. When we got out of the house, snow was coming in, all these flurries, everything is white, and we go in the car, we go to the airport, we go through the motions of traveling through JFK and then landing in Riyadh and so on and so on. Up until today, this is 7 years later, she still remembers the flurries of the snow. She doesn't remember the luxury car we got in. She doesn't remember, the airport or how long it took to the airport. She doesn't remember the lounge that we sat in and all that stuff. She still talks about, I want to go and have that experience again. And, every time that picture comes in, she still says, okay, I want to go and see snow in New York. She was a year and a half old. She's now 8. But that's the thing that she remembers. Again, none of the technology things. She had, her iPad and all these other things that while we're going to the airport and watching it, none of that is remembered. What is remembered is that unique experience that she had, and she still remembers it. And I think for AI, it's a tall order to bring that experience to the traveler. Once you bring that experience to the traveler, then I think we have succeeded. And you cannot bring it in a way in your face, feeling the technology around you. It should be completely invisible.
So I'll pick up on both feeling and mood. So we've talked a little bit about the emotional intelligence, but I know from my own mood and my own feelings, if my flight is canceled, or if there's a natural disaster, or there's an emergency of some need, of some sort, that really, there needs to be some kind of human judgment in how this all happens, how it remains up front and center. And so I'm wondering, Paul, if maybe you can just talk a little bit about when and how automation can handle routine versus when it can jump in a moment like that.
Well, when you consider how complex the operation of the entire aviation industry is end to end, what you realize very quickly is that there are thousands and thousands of different data points that are all moving independently of each other. And if you look at a typical airport like Dubai International, when an aircraft is a couple of 100 miles out to when it's a couple of 100 miles out after it's landed and refueled and got new customers on board and then departed again, the sheer physical number of disconnected elements of data are just beyond human comprehension. So when things go wrong, without automation, we have to make decisions based on very little valuable data. The great thing is, now with all of the power of modern computing, we can now assimilate all that data and use the latest algorithms and the latest processing models to be able to make so much more sense of that, to make informed decisions which minimize delay and disruption. So AI is really going to be a massive enabler in helping us do things so much better. And I think if I look at another industry, I mean, take Formula One, for example. In the 70s, when a car comes in for a pit stop, which is a bit like an aeroplane arriving at an airport, it took something like 45, 47 seconds to change tires, refuel, and get on their way. With the power of modern processing and engineering and really working the problem, now Formula One cars can come in and do that same pit stop in about 3 seconds. Now, if we could apply not obviously the 3 seconds to an airport turnaround for an aeroplane, but if we could actually apply that same idea of relentlessly taking all those data points, bringing more efficiency in, what we can do is make the entire process and experience so much quicker, so much more seamless, and so much more customer friendly. Even when things go wrong, we can serve the customer better, minimize delays, bring in new contingencies which will ease the disruption. And that's, I think, a very, very exciting back-of-house process that will take place, I think. And we're working on that relentlessly now to make greater decisions and better decisions in the customer interest.
So that is an excellent tee-up, Paul, to my next question. So what you've talked a little bit about is the technology that's almost back of the house, and that requires tremendous investment. We've also talked about where humans step in, and we know that that involves labor and training. And so as we think about the practical applications, if you were forced to choose where the industry should invest more heavily today, next-gen AI or empowering frontline people, which would it be?
I don't think you can do one without the other. You have to invest in the technology, because investing in the technology enables people to do their jobs far better. If I can, for example, empower our frontline staff to have AI in their ear, so that if a customer asks a question to which they don't know the answer, but AI has listened to the question and can provide in their ear the answer, they can still deliver that in a very personal and human way. So I think AI providing decision support for frontline staff, who ultimately are the people delivering that very emotionally charged and very friendly customer service. I think that's the two working in concert with each other. Therefore, I would divide the investment equally into both sides.
Constantine, I see you shaking your head. Do you agree?
Absolutely agree completely with your thesis there, Paul. I look at AI as almost the PhD in your ear, so to speak. And that PhD, or that unlimited knowledge, might be solving problems. But it may also be, if we gather enough data on the particular traveller, on their specific needs. So not only do we have this sense of how might I solve any particular problem because I'm, well, let's say in my ear, informed by AI, but how might I also anticipate and understand what might solve future problems, or even better, design wonderful experiences that person will be overjoyed with. And the way that I look at it is a term that I'm calling an AI-informed human avatar. In other words, our frontline staff, with all due respect to Sarah, the AI person we had there, but our frontline staff being trained formally and then also being trained in real time to provide the right responses at the right time at the right place with the right context, so that every single traveller has their independent and individual needs satisfied better than, I guess, what we might call a briefing or a dossier on that traveller.
So Luis and Yaser, I see you nodding that I think you agree. So let me just jump 10 years ahead. And when we think about the role that technology is playing in the traveler's experience, Yaser, I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm going to go to you next. I want to ask you, will travelers remember flawless AI efficiency or unforgettable human connections?
If all you remember is the technology, then God help us. So we at HUMAIN, we believe that AI and humans need to work together to bring in the experience. Actually, that's the reason why you chose HUMAIN. It's a human and AI. So if for us to be successful is really, you want to remember the joyous moments. I mentioned the example of my child, but I also will give you another example. I traveled many times to Barcelona. My favorite memory is that small restaurant and the meal that I had there in the Gothic Quarter in Barcelona. I still remember that 15 years. If I were to, have that experience every time I go to a new city, this is what I would love to remember in 10 years, not the technology that I used to book my flight or go, with all due respect to all the technology we developed. Obviously, we want AI to enable us to find these moments and to put us in a place to find these moments. But we want it to be, again, invisible and in the background.
Luis?
Yes, I mean, Amadeus is a tech company, and therefore we will love that they remember our technology, but this is not the case, okay? I think 10 years from now, as it was said, people will still remember, things that happened to them, and it's true. I mean, what you have in mind is you forget about the pain points, the issues, the technology. You remember your connection, what you have lived there. Of course, you will realize that probably with how technology evolves, you can do things that you were not able to do before. But at the end, what counts is the human connection. And therefore, I hope people will remember that 10 years from now, as we do now from 10 years ago.
Constantine?
I've always taken the approach that AI is changing the physics of business. And I think one thing that we will see is a new generation of entrepreneurs, of people that are taking AI and using it as a superpower to build services and to build businesses and to innovate. And they might be intrapreneurs within businesses, or they might be entrepreneurs and startup founders. And especially in a country like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where there is such a generation of young people, I think it will act as a real boost and a real accelerator of jobs, of employment. So I take a very optimistic approach to the way in which we're going to see AI developed within businesses and also within economies.
Again, a techno-optimist. Paul, I'll let you have the last word before I wrap.
Thank you. To me, technology and AI are the enablers. They're not the product. The product still has to be the emotional connection, human to human, in my view. And let's face it, travel has a lot of stress points, and every single human being that undertakes a journey has very different points of pain and points of enjoyment. And I think the idea is, if we have the enabling backbone of technology that informs the frontline human how to interact more effectively with the traveler, to provide levels of reassurance, to provide emotional support where required. That's, I think, where the real value will be unlocked. Taking all the inefficiency out, removing queues, removing all the disruption that we suffer from time to time when things go wrong. I think that is the role of AI. It is the enabler, and it enables us to put more attention, more time, and more focus on the human-to-human interaction. That, to me, is the true value of where technology in this industry really lies.
Well said. I think that's the common theme, and I'd like to thank Sarah, and I'd like to acknowledge HUMAIN, the Saudi AI that has made this possible, and frankly TOURISE for enabling this kind of conversation, and thank each of you for your kind of patience and flexibility as we were able to use this platform to just see what the future might hold. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
All right.